And I want to speak to, if I may, speak to the Ryan Mallory letter first, and then just move to the next letter. You know, the thing is that I deserve answers to those questions as well. And I think that it's important for this letter to go through an official process so the answers to the questions can be answered. I'm certain that all of them will be found with a record search. And then, except for what I think is actually a question about ethics, I think, which would be, I'm looking to see which number it is. Bear with me, I'm sorry. Item number 8, which I think that is more of a question that would be for the Ethics Commission. The rest of it looks like items that would be appropriate for a records request. And, you know, we've talked about records requests in the past, them serving a valuable purpose for our community, in that they provide for the record, and that there's some official capacity to it rather than, you know, us trying to answer questions from a letter. And then I would hope that once a records request was completed, if there was any reason to believe that there has been any misconduct or any other concerns, that they would be forwarded to the appropriate jurisdictions. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, I don't feel like the council is equipped to review these kinds of questions, or I don't even know that they're being asked to, but I would hope that for, you know, the community's sake, since these questions have been presented without context, that we would be able to provide the record, and then any concerns would be able to be forwarded to the appropriate jurisdiction. And in the case of item number 8, I think that's the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. I don't think there is a records request in there, but in all other areas, I think it's a records request before the council can take up any questions, or any other jurisdiction can take up any questions. So I would be in favor, wholeheartedly in favor of putting this on a future agenda. But I wouldn't want the council to try and process these questions if the resident believes that these are questions that need to be answered. I would hope that he's provided with the appropriate documentation to process records requests, and maybe even some information on how to get a hold of the Oregon's Ethics Commission and the AG's office. And I think the district attorney handles some concerns as well. And if there's any other jurisdictions that the staff might think is a good direction, I'm fully in support of that.
Great, thank you, Mayor. I can have Hector, as our city recorder, connect with Ryan about some follow-up resources, as well as our public records request form.
Right. Okay. So I think it, can we bring this back at some point in time, just to check in with the resident and see how they're doing, if they chose to do the records request, and if so, where are we at? And if there's, if there's some official vetting that the council can look at objectively, I would love to get it on a future agenda. Maybe we can talk about how would you recommend we process that?
Yeah, I think the question really comes to you all as council. I think the majority of topics that are brought up in the letter are urban renewal agency topics. You know, but technically the city council does have oversight over the urban renewal agency, in that you guys are the same board, but technically the city council supersedes the agency or can take action with the agency. So I'll leave it all at the direction of you if you'd like to have follow-up be through the Urban Renewal Agency lens or through the City Council lens. We can follow, really any procedure around it. Typically what we do is our process. It's if a public record request occurs, we follow our protocol on fulfilling that public records requests. And then typically we leave it to the community member that made that request. If they want to bring it back or if they find issues that are wrong, they can always pursue it with us to correct it or come to council if they find an issue on that level. If council, for your own curiosity, would like us to also share the information to you all as council, whether or not the community member would like to bring it back up before you all, always happy to do that as well.
Any preferences there? Councilor Penamarath?
So you're looking to council for preferences. I think the first step is to have the public records requests done, the ethics commission done, and then if Mr. Mallory wants to pursue, he can make that request. I don't have any particular whether it's council or Tura, I don't really have any leanings one way or the other.
I don't think it's the city's position to call the OGEC. I think that would be these are concerns brought forth by a resident. I would imagine we would provide them with, the city would be willing to provide them with the information about how to get a hold of OGEC. My experience with them, and I call them every time there's even the slightest concern, is that they're super cooperative. They're super easy to access. They're very friendly and they make things easy to understand, I guess is what I would say. Did you have another comment?
Yeah, no, I just, if that's exact, I agree with you. Absolutely. They even answer their phone. They're so marvelous. So, yeah, that was what I meant to suggest. I didn't mean to suggest that the council take that on. Sorry if I did.
Okay. Then is there any other input that anybody wants to give before we move on to the next letter? My preference is that if we're going to field a concern, that we have the appropriate jurisdictions and bodies objectively do the review, and that would I think include the AG's office, I think or the Secretary of State, I'm not sure which, and then also OGEC. So if there's nothing else, I don't want to give everybody ample opportunity. Okay, great. So the next item is the letter regarding the charter from Councilor Harrison. Does anybody? I just have one comment, but I'd be happy to yield to somebody else.
Can I just do a point of order really fast?
Sure.
Is to admonish the attendees from using the chat, which is tantamount to standing up and just talking during a meeting. It's just not appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's not something that we ever allow. And Hector, if you'll monitor that, would be great. Yeah, the only comment I have on this is my understanding from the attorney's memo, and I'm saying this because we might want to ask the attorney to clarify this, or the new attorney, whoever we end up with. My understanding from the attorney's memo was that we weren't violating the charter, we were redefining residency. And that would be the challenge. The challenge would be to our definition of residency. And And so if somebody wanted to challenge our definition of residency, they certainly could do that. And then, you know, we'd be able to take it up in that vein. So I feel like it's important to get some clarification about what that memo was, what our individual understandings of what that memo was meant to say. There's some pieces of that memo available in this letter, but I'd like to, you know, I mean, if we're going to take it up, if the council decides to bring it to a future agenda, I would certainly want to have the attorney weigh in on that question. I'd want that question asked, was just clarifying whether or not she meant we were, you know, the residency interpretation could be challenged, or did she mean the charter could be challenged? I understood it completely different than the letter implies. And other than that, it would be a discussion if it was challenged. And again, I think if that's what, I mean, I would never, I don't think it's any of our business to try to discourage a resident from processing any of their concerns through the official channels. I just don't think we're equipped or trained to do that as a council. So I'm certainly, those are my thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts? Councilor Panamareff and then Councilor Postizo.
Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts as far as I did recuse myself from this decision, but I just wanted to address some of the things that were said by Mr. Harrison about me in that letter. He has made some remarks that I have not been public about things, and I assume he means Facebook, which I don't use very often. I've certainly shared with this group and appreciate all the support that I got from the council immediately after the fire. My mother got ill, and for some time I was her caregiver until she was in hospice, and she died at home. So that was in March, around March of 2021. And then there was the dealing with the estate and all of that. Mr. Harrison is correct that I do own the property. This was my mom's condo and she left it to me. So yes, it is in my name. As far as rebuilding in Talent, it took me a while, but I did engage an excellent builder in February. And as of very recently, the designs are complete. And I should be applying for, well, he's doing all of this. I just signed things, applying for a permit in the very near future. And I don't know how quickly the house can be built, given supplies and all of that. But I am definitely missing Talent, and I'm doing my best to get back, and spending a lot of my days here. So anyway, that's where that's at. And I think this council certainly deserved an update, and I really appreciate your patience with all of that.
Yeah, thank you, Eleanor. I remember when we talked about it with the attorney, we talked about how the IRS extended the build period from 2 years to 4 years because of the supply chain issues and all of the things that everybody was facing. And that was, yeah, I remember talking about that a little bit. I don't think we set that as our criteria, but it seemed, you know, it seemed like a good benchmark anyway, if the IRS, if it's good for the IRS, I guess. Councilor Postizo and then Councilor Byers.
Yeah, just quickly, I guess supporting what you, Mayor, said that, you know, I'm not sure, at least myself, and the council in general, to handle some of these questions. I would definitely prefer to have people who are qualified and deal with these things and have some voice of authority chiming in so that we're not, you know, just taking stabs at stuff. Thanks.
Councilor Byers.
Yes, I would appreciate perspectives from people who are more knowledgeable about this subject than myself. But also, I just want to say that we're looking forward to having you back in town, Councillor Penelworth, whenever that might happen. I know it's been a long process.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Byers.
So I guess the question then is, do we, I mean, I personally, again, believe that it's important for the people that are making complaints to initiate an official process. If that's the will of this individual and they want to, you know, challenge the council's interpretation, I think at that point in time, we can take steps to, you know, answer to the challenge. But I don't think asking us to interpret, interpret this stuff is other than, and what we did do, which was interpret what we considered residency, which is not defined in the charter and not defined anywhere except for when we reinterpreted it for short-term rentals, and you know that the situations aren't even the same, but that there was an example of us interpreting residency again, you know, without having any interpretation in any of our guiding documents, certainly not in our charter. So I guess, you know, do we want to initiate the process as a council, or do we want to answer to a challenge? I think that's what's in front of us, unless somebody sees it differently. And I only use that language because I think that's what Attorney Cooper stated, according to this letter, paraphrased, if challenged. Yeah, I think a displaced person could still make the case for city residency. That's how I understood it. What pleases the council? Councilor Postizo?
Yeah, I think that it just seems logical to me that if someone thinks that the council has misinterpreted or misrepresented something, that they should, you know, initiate the proper authority to investigate it and get to the bottom of it. Like before, otherwise, you know, it could just turn into, you know, he said, she said kind of thing. So I definitely think that if someone doesn't think something's going correctly, especially from what you say, they're pretty responsive to answering questions, that the person who's seeing the problem should take it there and see where it goes.
Anybody else? All right, is that enough to work with for now, Jordan? I mean, I think what we're saying, and one of the individuals here, the other one is not, is that, you know, we appreciate that they have concerns, but if we're gonna review concerns, we want to review them from an official perspective. Hearing, you know, having it vetted through or processed through people who are far more qualified to look at these concerns. And I, speaking for myself, I absolutely would appreciate that very process, that because I think that an objective investigation is absolutely what those concerns need.
Thank you, Mayor. So what I'm hearing there is that I will not be placing these on future agenda topics for the council at this time. And I will just remind the community that not only is city staff a resource for council and do things, but also community members can always come to city staff if they need help identifying what those correct state officials are, community groups are, if they do want to follow a process to make sure that the city is accountable to what we should be doing.
Great.
So
That's
my door is
perfect.
always open here at City Hall.
That's exactly. Thank you. And I think I heard you say, and I hope we said as well, that we're leaving the door open to put it on an agenda when When, yeah, we're happy to put it on an agenda when there's been some interpretation by people who are more qualified to do it. Is there any further comments? Councilor Pestizo?
This is just, I guess, a point of order. It's after 9. When do we have to extend the meeting?
Yeah, 9:30. Yeah, planning is 9. Planning is 9. Yeah. Are there any other comments or questions about this? Jordan?
Not about this, Mayor. I was moving on to another topic.
Okay, great. All right, well, we'll close this item then. I appreciate always when residents bring their concerns before us. We just want them to be processed correctly and fairly for everybody. The next item on the agenda is item number.
Mayor,
Oh, wait a
can
minute, I had something for the other as well. Did you want to add something to other? Because I have something for other as well.
I
Is
did.
it? Yeah, it's the Gerlinda. What, is that what you had?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, why don't you go ahead and say what you were going to say? And
Yeah. As you all know, Gerlinda is the superpower of our community, and she has poured a lot of her love into the tiny park that we officially adopted tonight. I'm just gonna, toot a little bit of Gerlinda's horn. Not only did she grow the plants and foster the plants, but she's been caring for the plants since that tiny park has been planted, including